Welcome to Man Talk 133 with Charles and Darl, the movement dedicated to empowering men, uniting brothers, and building a strong coalition. This is more than just a conversation. It's a call to action. Join us as we uplift, support, and inspire men worldwide. Because together, we don't just talk, we lead, we grow, and we conquer. Are you ready to be part of the coalition? Let's dive in.
And Talk 133 with Charles
Yes,
and
sir.
Darl. What's going on, brother?
Hey, what's going on, bro? How you feeling?
And that to it. Welcome everybody to the show, man. Again, man. Welcome.
Yes, sir.
So, man, we got a topic tonight. It's probably gonna be near and dear to you a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because your wife, why is the education system as a whole broken? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's you start out, what's your opinion? I mean, what you know about it from your wife, and then I'll go and give you some of the stuff that I got.
Educational, why it's broken?
Yeah.
Education system.
Yeah, why do you think it's broken?
Well, I could say a lot of time, funding in certain areas is probably why it's broken. Well, more likely it is why it's broken, but I would just say for me, mainly is parenting.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think some of the parents are. Yeah, I don't think some of the parents are, more in tune into education as they should. I mean, because a lot of times parents, if your kids aren't acting right the way they're supposed to in school,
mm-hmm.
and the teachers or principals or whatever try to combat that situation and talk to the parents about it, the parents would take the kids' side,
right,
and go against that will go against the teachers and the administration. They'll believe everything that the kid is saying, knowing that the kid can be terrible as all get out.
Right. I agree with that.
Yeah.
So the U.S. system faces numerous challenges, including declining enrollment, budget issues, and a focus of standardized testing over individual learning needs. Factors like low teacher pay, inadequate resources, and safety concerns also contribute to its struggles, right? Mm-hmm. So the declining enrollment part kind of stuck out to me a little bit, right? Because I didn't look at it this way.
Declining enrollment.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't look at it this way. Lower birth rates and changes in migration patterns are leading to a decrease in student populations, which in turn impacts school budgets as funding often is tied to enrollment. So you think about it, back in the day, you probably had, I don't know, parents had probably 6, 7 kids, right? All of them went to school.
Yeah.
Now you may have 1 or 2, maybe. Some of them grown and don't even have kids.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's one of the things that kind of stuck out to me. I didn't look at it that way. Why, how we talk about some areas may the funding may be impacted in certain areas. And that may be a reason why, because of declining in enrollment. So if you don't have the enrollment, what's the point in getting the funding?
Right. I guess there's too, like, in some of those, like say, decline enrollment, I think a lot of parents are putting their kids in like charter schools and different schools and stuff like that. So some of the rural areas, like where we came from, like a lot of rural areas, those schools are definitely declining.
Yeah.
In enrollment, because they're a lot of the parents that kind of came up with us, they'll move into the larger cities. So they're enrolling into more urban schools and stuff like that. So, it's really taking an impact, putting an impact on, I put it this way, the rural schools are really taking an impact on that low enrollment. You know what I'm saying?
And then it affect the budget cuts because you're not getting the same amount of resources you're going to get. You got 500 kids versus you have 1,000 kids.
Right.
I'm sure some educators out here that's maybe listening and, may see this video. I mean, you can chime in and just let us know what y'all thoughts, are. You know what I mean? The standardized testing and focus on lack of flexibility. A strong emphasis on standardized testing can overshadow the importance of individual learning needs and development of crucial thinking and problem solving, which is kind of key, because when you focus on the test, just the test only,
yeah,
and not what a child is going to really need to be successful. Like, this child may be super smart,
right.
this other one may not be as smart, so you got to focus on them instead of focusing, just strictly on that test.
But some can't. But some kids just can't test. You know what
That's
I'm
true
saying?
too.
They freak out. They can be smart as all get out. During the course of the year, but when it comes to that like I said, that standardized testing,
Yeah,
they crack under pressure. You know what I'm saying? This is what it is. That anxiety.
true that, man. True that.
So
And that, but still, I still think that they can still kind of lock in on what a child kind of needs. For example, you have one strong in math, one strong in English. Now, if you're taking a math, you can't put that child in algebra. If they,
right.
if they need to be in basic math, you setting them up for failure.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's I kind of get what you're saying too, but just to focus with them just on test alone. When they get out in the real world, that's all they know is that test. What they learn in the test. So it's kind of the problem solving piece will be missing. Like
right.
us, when we was in school, we did auto mechanics. We did brick masonry and stuff like that, which kind of helped, as we grew up. You know what I'm saying? Not change tires right now. I can go pull probably 10 kids.
Oh yeah.
And none of them probably could change a tire.
No, definitely can't.
They can call roadside assistance, but they can't.
Exactly.
Yeah. And this right here is another one, man, you make it speak to this because your wife is in the school system, right? Teacher shortages and unsupportive work environment, low pay, demanding workloads, lack of resources can make teaching a challenging and unsustainable career.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna go to next. That next topic that you're talking about. So we're on the same page, man. Like, yeah, teachers, man, they don't get the proper pay. Yeah. I think all of them should get like a nice adequate salary, and then like I said, man, with the supplies and stuff like that, man, all the teachers, not some of them, all the teachers, man, they got to go in their own pockets to get supplies most of the time for their kids, for their classrooms and stuff like that. So yeah, their teachers, man, they drag the teachers.
They
the most important. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. My bad. But don't the schools supposed to supply the supplies? And that probably come back to the lack of funding because of lack of students.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, they do to a certain point. I don't really know all the details on that, but I know a lot of times, man, like I say, the teachers that I know, my wife included, and then like I said, of course, I got other family members. There's teachers. They got to get a lot of stuff for the kids. They self, man.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. So from now, just I'm sure you've been to a school and stuff like that. Are the classes like overcrowded in her class, or just small classes, or what is it?
No, with her, she has about 26 kids.
Oh, wow.
In the kindergarten class. And see, they got 3 kindergarten classes, right? I'm speaking this on my wife. She got 3 kindergarten classes. I mean, it's 3 kindergarten classes as a whole. In her class, each class used to have 3 assistants, teachers assistants. So now with the teacher shortage is what you was talking about. Those 3 kindergarten classes now, where they've been working like this all year, they only have 1 assistant that they got to share between the 3 classes.
Oh, wow. Okay. I get what you're saying now. I get what you're saying. So then, okay, the next point, let me go on to the next point, because I'm going to dig back. Micromanagement and scripted curricula can stifle teacher creativity and innovation. Just for the people that maybe just tuning in, we're talking about why the school system is broken. Micromanagement, they basically what they're doing is from what I'm reading is this is they giving the teachers what to teach instead of letting the teachers be creative and teach what they know to teach.
Right. Right.
Which you kind of take and stifles the teacher's creativity. If I come and give you, just like for your kids, if you come and give them a blueprint of what they supposed to do all the time, instead of letting them think through it, it kind of stifles their creativity. Like, you know, hey,
right,
I know what you think, but no, let's do it this way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that could be kind of like a one of the things too. Teacher unions. I don't know about the teacher union things. I don't know. Do they even have teacher unions down here?
I think they do. I think they had like a state something NCEA or something like that. I'm not for sure. I'm not really too familiar with it. I think they do.
Okay.
You know, but I don't really know how they work.
Okay, gotcha. All right, we'll skip that then. Safety concerns and bullying, rising school violence, including gun violence, creates a stressful and unsafe environment for students and teachers. That's a big one. That's a big one. If you got to be concerned whether you're gonna make it home every night,
that's wild. Yeah,
you got to be concerned if you're gonna get jumped on because you give somebody a bad grade, or you say something like, "Hey, can you go back and sit down?" That kind of probably the reason why you have a teacher shortage.
Yeah, man. A lot of them are quitting, you know, because of that same thing you just talking about. Because, you know, most teachers, you know, they're adults, of course, they're gonna defend themselves. And if, you know, a kid try to jump them, especially in the higher grades, and if a teacher put their hands on them to defending themselves, the teacher's gonna get fired.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like the teachers, they're handcuffed. You know what I mean? So in that they're handcuffed in that situation.
Well, that's one I'm gonna tell you right now. I wouldn't be handcuffed because I'm getting fired. I'm just going. I'm gonna let you know that that's one that I'm going. Yeah, that'd be my last day. Before I do what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pack my stuff up in that little box. And so when I finish dragging them through the classroom, I can grab my little box and go and leave because I'm gonna get fired because, you know, that's just I'm speaking for me because you know,
because I'm gonna leave whatever I got in the classroom except what I got on me, my personal belongings or whatever. I'm gone. I'm gonna leave everything on the desk. They can have it all. You know, the female teachers, you know, they got to get their purses and all this stuff like that. So I don't carry none of that stuff. So hey, when you go down like that, hey, the next teachers is coming in, they got some free supplies. They ain't got to buy nothing.
I'm trying to tell you, man. Then another thing, man, bullying is also a significant problem with a higher percentage of students reporting experiencing it. Hey, look, we're gonna jump back into this bullying part, man, because we right up against the break. So we're gonna go into the break and then come back and get into the bullying part.
Okay.
Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Welcome back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
33 with Charles and Daryl. So before the break, man, we were talking about bullying.
Bullying,
yeah. Bullying is one of those things, man. That's a real issue now. I know I know it's kids on kids a lot, but sometimes it's adults on kids.
Yeah,
you know, they bullying the kids, and I think that's one of the things I think it's kind of overlooked a little bit. We always think about, you know, remember the show Little Rascals? What was the dude named Butch? The one who used to bully everybody. We always think of Butch with a little sleeves rolled or whatever he had on, right?
Yeah, everybody shook.
So we always think of him as the kid bullying, but I mean, we got grown folks to do bullying too, man. That need to be looked at as well.
Yeah, and I guess, man, you know, you don't know if you're talking about teachers or just adults as a whole.
As a whole, but in school, since we talking about
Mhm.
schools, like teachers too,
Yeah,
in schools. I say it like
yeah,
that.
yeah. Because you can have some teachers that bully students
Yeah.
if their other student, just because their other student parent might be a teacher,
Hmm.
and they might not like that other teacher,
Yeah.
so they
True
can
that.
bully that. You know what I'm saying? Or the teacher may know that, like I said, a parent that may not be in the school, so they may just know them from the street.
Yeah.
So now they got a chance to put their thumb on the back of the student to
Yeah.
get back at that parent that they don't like. So it can work like that too.
Yeah. Exactly. I
You know.
agree
So,
with that. I agree with that.
yeah.
And then another reason why, man, the educational system is broken.
Mhm.
Lack of focus on real world skills. Traditional schools often prioritize memorization over critical thinking and problem solving, leaving students unprepared for the demands of the modern workforce. Now,
Mhm.
back in the day, I just mentioned
Yep.
how we used to do that. I don't even know if they have auto mechanics classes still in
Right.
schools now. Brick
Right.
masonry. I, I don't even know if they kind of have this stuff, but it kind of puts the
Mhm.
kids in a place where you kind of handicap them a little bit.
Yeah, they
You
had
get-
small engines and stuff like that too. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. And then
Yeah.
they solely focusing on somebody else doing it. Like they have
Mhm.
no hands-on skills.
Mhm.
Small engine repair. They used to have that in school.
Yep.
I'm not sure what it is right now. I think they focus more so on
Mhm.
computers now. I'll look at it, try to look at
Yeah.
it a different way. They
Mhm.
may be trying to prepare them for what we going into. They
Mhm.
may be training them on computers because that's where everything is going to.
Right. And I think over here, I think I have one of the high schools over here, maybe all of them. I
Mhm.
know they teach the guys. If I'm not mistaken, I think they teach them to introduce them into firefighting.
Oh, okay, okay, that's a good thing, man.
Yeah, and I think I'm not for sure. Don't quote me on this. I think they introduced them to like power lines, like the
Mhm.
guys do the power lines and stuff like
Uh-huh,
that,
uh-huh.
because it's attached to the community college. So
Right.
they can kind of dabble in that when they're in high school if that's what they want to stay focused in. So, I think they can do pretty good, if they learn that.
Yeah, I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. But all the stuff I just listed,
Yeah,
man.
I don't know if they do that or not. This
Yeah,
stuff you listed.
all the stuff I just listed, and all the stuff the teachers have to go through.
Mm-hmm.
The average salary in 2023, 2024 was $72,030.
What
Teachers
state
start,
was that?
this is a national average.
72.
Yeah, and then depends on where you are. The salaries averaged $46,526.
Okay.
And it's as I guess different places, the
Mm-hmm.
national average is 72, starting salary 46.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess if you go into places like California,
Right.
different places like that, it probably would go up because it's a bigger state, bigger, you know what I mean? It may go up, but that's the
Right.
national average, 72,000.
Right. Wake and Mecklenburg, they might be up there.
Probably.
But like probably the smaller counties, they probably fall somewhere in the middle. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
said
I
before,
agree.
man, like I said before, man, they need to make more teachers.
Yeah, man. They there's something they got to be passed for them to do just a little bit more for the teachers, man.
Mm-hmm.
So you remember we talking about the education system. The education system also includes colleges.
Mm-hmm.
So the college system is broken as well. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? American colleges system faces numerous challenges as well, including rising tuition costs,
Mm-hmm.
student debt, a disconnect between higher education and the job market,
Mm-hmm.
and the perception that is more focused on selectivity and ranking than student success.
Mm-hmm.
These issues contribute to declining confidence in higher education and make it less accessible and affordable for many. Basically, like the rise in tuition costs.
Yeah, they gotta do something about that, man. They gotta do something about it because, like you saying, with I guess what you were saying, the low enrollment, right? It's declining.
Yeah. Uh huh. Yeah.
I guess,
Yeah.
you know, and I ain't saying nothing wrong with that, but like this right here, but a lot of people, you know, they kind of trending back to the community colleges.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, but like I say, you know, if you want to get, you know, like, yes, quote unquote, higher learning,
Yeah.
these big universities, they're gonna have to cut back that, you know, lower that tuition, man. That's ridiculous.
But you know what's crazy is it has a disconnect between the higher education and the job market. So most schools used to train you for specific jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So now you go they tell you, oh no, you get a degree in political science. What job can you get in political science?
Bridgestone, they'd be right out there with me when I used to be out there.
Throwing tires and doing all that. You see what I'm saying? So you're kind of wasting time and money.
I had some guys out there like that was working with me. They did 4 years in colleges and stuff like that. Pledge and everything.
Yeah.
It was out there with me. I'm looking at them like, bro, what y'all doing here with me? You know, but hey, like you said, the job market or whatever they was in, you know, whatever they majored in, and then match up.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, you know, like the rising costs, man, had soared, which it makes it unaffordable for any families. Most families, if you getting student loans, you know, that's another thing you got to deal with, because now the cost is so high, you can't really pay out of pocket unless you take your 529 plan and probably max it out, or however they do that, and just keep doing it. I mean, you got, in order for to pay for your kids' education. Now I'm just speculating because I don't know. I ain't no economist or nothing like that. I'm just saying, but you got to start when they probably 2 or 3.
Yeah. Yep.
And save all the way till they get to like 18 to pay for that. And then now, since the costs are going up, you're gonna have even more money to save to get in, because you got so many people in student debt, man. You can't really. They can't go back into college because now once you max out your student loans, you can't get more money. So now you got a bunch of debt and can't get back into college, because what a lot of people have done was once they got out of college and student loans come due, as long as you're in school, you don't have to pay student loans. So now you go back into school again. To stop the student loans, but you add more money to the debt.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy how they do that.
So it's kind of like a trap. As long as you're in school and you paying this money, right? Or you getting these student loans, you don't got to pay that. It's deferred or whatever till you get finished.
Like I said, they got to wait for you to finish line.
Yeah. Now you got people that got like 18 degrees. You can't do nothing with neither one of them. You know what I mean? So you got like a plaque behind your wall of just degrees, which you can't use for 1 degree at the time. So, but it's kind of like a trap, you know, like the student debt, the accumulation of student loan debt can be a significant burden for graduates, impacting their financial stability and career choices. If you got this debt coming out of school, right, and it's due, so say for example, you graduate June, and your first payment is due in December or January. Man, now you working 6 months just to get ready to start prepared to pay student loans.
Yeah, and I guess the way you explained that last topic, hey, that's probably why those people got all those degrees. And they just
keep going back. Keep going back.
I didn't know it worked like that. You know what I'm saying? But, you did a little research on it, so you know. Yeah,
then you gotta where, say for example, if you max at the undergraduate level, then you got the graduate level, which you make it get more money. You dig what I'm saying? So they just keep, and then before you know it, man, you got $200,000 in student debt that you gotta face that tsunami when you get finished with school. So, hey, we right up against the break. We're going to jump back into this right after the break, y'all.
Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.net.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities. they represent.
Back, welcome back.
Boy said, "Welcome, quack."
Welcome, quack. That's what he said, dog. Hey, welcome back, y'all. So before we went to the break, yo, we was talking about the student loans. Now we talk about the lack of affordability. So, you know, school free, but college you got to pay for. I'm sure people know that, right? So the high cost and burdensome loan repayment plans prevent students from completing their degree. Like it's so much, dog, that I give you some people when they go to Duke. Duke is $80,000 a semester.
That's why I'm gonna say they up there.
And
like,
they're about $80,000 a semester. So
that's
think about that.
That's more than what teachers make a year. You know what I'm saying? Or average person.
Exactly. So now you see why the student loan, the Perkins and all these, the staffing and all these loan people, why they don't mind giving you the money. Because if you don't pay it, they can start garnishing it. So you got to, one way or another, you're gonna have to pay it. You know what I'm saying? You can get deferments, forbearance, all this kind of stuff, but eventually they're gonna come due and you're gonna have to pay that. Every penny you got, you're gonna have to pay it.
That's high end crime right there. It's almost like probation and parole.
Oh no, they definitely got the ski mask and the gloves out, Doc. Yeah. That's for sure. Every time you go in, they got the ski mask and the gloves out waiting on you so they can go ahead and get that. That's for sure. Yeah. That's for sure. Then some other stuff, man, that reason why colleges are failing, because we talk about the schools, now we're in the colleges, outdated curriculum. Some feel that college curriculum does not adequately prepare graduates for demands of the modern workforce, which is true because everything is going to like robots and AI and all this stuff. If you still using one of them old what's them HPs, you in trouble because everything is so far advanced. Then if you don't do like my son did and build your own PC where you can put the graphics card, the speed, whatever you want in it, and you go get one of them ones from, I don't know if they still sell them things.
Jordan built his own.
Yeah, Jordan built his own.
That boy got some skills, don't he?
Just a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Just a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
Yeah, so
I won't let that slide back. We had to put that out there. We might have to holler at him.
Yeah, to get you one built, man. He's very intelligent. No lie about that. So he built his own PC, right? With the two monitors. So if you go get one of the old school ones from Dell or wherever those places are, if you go get one like that, it may not be compatible to like what we're doing right now. The speed may not be fast enough. You may not have enough RAM, and I'm sure Joe somewhere listening, he probably like, we leaving some out, but I know you know what we talking about.
Right.
And the RAM and the speed and all that.
Right. It's like you saying too bad at high tech, like everything going automated, AI, whatever. Yeah. That's even like in the manufacturing, the manufacturing field.
Yeah.
Like we had, like before I left, we had robots inside of the place I worked, the plant I was talking about, like the real big robots. And you had guys that worked on them, worked on them, stuff like that. They were, they went to the, engineering or mechanic school and all this stuff like that. So, like you said, it's required now, man. So eventually it's going to keep going the way it's going. Like you said, there's some people that's going to get left behind,
Right. Which that's the next point, is a disconnect between education and industry needs. So the education, the industry needs this to take us here, but the education is still over here teaching this. So now when you got that gap, when they come out of school, they got a degree that they really can't use because they don't have like a specialized. Now you got to go back to school and specialize in this, and then go back, and once you get that done, specialize in that, which is more money.
Well, wouldn't that be unless that's by design,
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't that be um feasible, if you want to use that word, for recruiters
Mm-hmm.
to put the people in the right direction?
You're talking about
You-
job recruiters?
yeah, like the like you do like yeah, college and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because if unless it may be just depending on the individual, because you know what I'm saying. If I'm working in the industry and I
Mm-hmm.
know where the industry is taking me, and I see some people that's coming in college that's enthused, they want to learn a lot of stuff like a sponge and all that.
Yeah.
I would try to send them in that direction. I see them going this way, but I would try to send them in the direction where the market is going. Then would that fall on the recruiters to try to help them? Because sometimes some kids is going to college, they may not, like we went to the military.
Mm-hmm.
You might not have nobody to put you in the right direction.
Right. I agree with you saying, but that still goes back to the outdated curriculum
Mm-hmm.
that they
Right.
may have. Like, say,
Mm-hmm.
like, for example, like some countries, like you may have China, India, what are those countries like that? They
Mm-hmm.
may put a little bit more in the education system,
Mm-hmm.
to get on the cutting edge.
Mm-hmm.
And the US may not,
Mm-hmm.
because they may not even, I ain't say they're gonna feel that they deem as important, but they just don't really
Right.
may not just focus on that part of it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But I get your point. They should have recruiters in place. Like back in
Right.
school, you had guidance counselors that came and
Right.
talked to me and told me, like, hey, I had 6 months left. If you don't turn this around, you're gonna be
Right.
in the 12th grade again.
Right.
So just
Right.
I see what you
Exactly. Or like I said, like the way the market is going.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like just like like okay, I didn't have no guidance, so
yeah,
when I went in straight infantry.
yeah,
But y'all wanted to come in behind me,
yeah.
so by me already taking
Taking
the
that
first
lump.
shot, yeah,
Yeah,
taking the first lump on the head, I was able to, like, yo, y'all don't want to go the way I went, y'all need to go this way.
yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Seem like, it ought to be some people in place that's in colleges that would do that too. But I understand what you're saying about the outdated, the outdated systems or whatever, curriculum or whatever.
Yeah. And boy, did that pay off too, because I ain't go nowhere near infantry. I was the information management. That definitely
See,
was in office.
see, look at you. See, hey, I let y'all boys stand on my shoulders for a little while. You know what I'm
Just a,
saying?
just a little bit. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Other
Yeah.
issues, admission process. Admission processes can be complex and stressful for students.
Mm-hmm.
I guess because you have so many people, you have so many students with so little
Mm-hmm.
workers in place to kind of
Mm-hmm.
help them get it, like as you say, get in the right field. Like they
Right.
may have a passion for computers, but then
Right.
they go put them in political science, or they may go put them
Right.
in something else that
Mm-hmm.
it may not work for them. They may
Right.
want to fix on computers.
Right. Yeah. That's kind of like what I was saying. Like,
Yeah.
they may come in with the idea they may have an interest in computers, but like I said, they may go in, like you said, political science or whatever, or something like that. If they got an interest in
Mhm.
that, they enthused that you kind of guide them that way because that's where the market is going.
Exactly. That's
You
what's
know what I'm
trending.
saying? Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
what's
agree.
trending. Yeah.
I agree. Um, Administrative overhead. Colleges are increasingly burdened by administrative overhead and paperwork. So many people trying to get into college. So many people to help process them into college,
Mm-hmm.
which is that's kind of been the thing for the longest time. You got so many people trying to get into UNC or NC State and
Oh yeah.
Duke and all these top schools. They don't have the people, the infrastructure in place to kind of
Mm-hmm.
facilitate all of that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And lack of transparency. Students and the public often lack transparency about colleges spend their money and what their graduation rates are. So they basically fluff the numbers. That they try to make it look like they retention rate is, hey, we got a retention rate of I
Yeah.
don't know 80%, when
Yeah.
actually
They
they
push
got
them
maybe
out.
30%.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
you get in there, you find out the hard way. You like
Yeah.
you kind of like, yo, I thought y'all told me y'all had 80%, bro. I see folk quitting every day. So what's
Right.
Something ain't right, bro. Y'all is lying to me. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Well, done lied to you because you in now at least for a
Oh yeah.
semester that you quit.
Right.
Like
They got
just, you know what I'm saying? Community college transfer issues, transfer process from the community college to universities can be complex and insufficient. Now, let me say this. I never transferred from community college to university, but I transferred from a university to another university, and it was
okay.
actually pretty easy.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody have done that. Hey,
What's that from Maine, from a Maine for big college
not from a little one to a big one,
no, I'm talking, okay.
community college to like a big university.
Big university. You said you don't know if anybody ever did that.
When I know some people have, I said I
Right.
haven't. I transferred from one university to another
Okay.
university.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I don't know that process. And it could be complex. I mean, because you talking about two different entities. You talk about maybe like a like a Wake Tech. You know,
Yep.
you trying to communicate with Wake Tech, and let's say Duke trying to communicate.
Right.
You know,
Kind
you
of like
trying to,
kind of like a junior college or something.
yeah,
You know,
basically,
yeah.
yeah.